our values, that preserves our rights, and goes forth in power and might, that reflects our values and preserves our rights, and goes forth in power and might.
Good evening, and welcome to Your Right to Know by the Fitchburg Republican City Committee. My name is Mary Lotze, and I will be your host for this evening's show. Tonight, joining me on our panel, and this is a very exciting panel, because this is, we're going to call it, the return of the women. And so let me introduce our women on our panel first, and then we'll go into more about our discussion. To my far right is going to be Christine Hallet. Christine's a member of the Fitchburg Republican City Committee and a member of our very first women's panel. Then we have Karen Anderson from Orange and a member of the Orange Republican Town Committee. And then Kathy Goguen, who's a friend and also member of the Fitchburg Republican City Committee. So welcome, women, we're back.
Thank you, Mary.
Just to let our viewers know that it was just a year ago that the same women, we assembled around this table and we talked about the Democratic allegation that there's a Republican war on women. And that was such a well-received show, and we had such a good time in discussing the war on women that we said we have just got to bring the women panel back. But guess what? This time we're going to talk all about Hillary and getting into the race. So without further ado, let's jump right into Hillary and Hillary's announcement that she's the first woman actually running for President of the United States. Let me throw out, are you surprised that she was going to do it? Don't remember when she left the State Department in 2012, the end of 2012, she had some missteps. She had a bad flu, she had a fall, she had a brain injury, or better known as a concussion, and there was a lot of speculation. Was she really ready to announce, or would she ever announce that she wanted to be pregnant? I am so sorry, President. What do you think? Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised. I think she thinks
you saw it coming?
Yes, it's her turn. Yeah,
her turn?
It's her turn.
No surprise, no surprise. She was supposed to have it last time. When we had Obama step in, the only reason that he gained the notoriety that he did was the color of his skin. They didn't expect that, and so she was actually furious. You may recall that was in the news, that she was very furious about the fact that they were pushing her aside and going to push him through because she felt that was her entitlement. So in order for her to be appeased, they gave her the only position that would be equivalent to Secretary of State, actually had a little more power with it, so they gave her that position as an appeasement that she could hold off until his term was done. But she's been feeling it's her seat all along.
Think so? What about you, Christine? You surprised?
I'm not surprised at all that she's running. I mean, she can say she's not running until she's blue in the face, but nobody's going to believe her.
So this was not a surprise. Now, what do you think about her rollout? Her rollout of the campaign was really kind of uninspiring, especially in light of what we saw the Republicans. We had really very good, strong presentations by Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, Marco Rubio. And then we had Hillary. It was done on some sort of a media, social media. I think somebody said the only time Hillary actually appeared on the screen in the social media was like 30 seconds of that, where she actually came out and said, I want to be your representative. Do you think it was kind of dull, or what about her rollout? Inspiring?
I watched it last night, and I hit play, and I thought maybe it was one of those little YouTube commercials, and I'm going, I can't skip this commercial. When am I going to get to the
meat?
And then I saw, I'm going, that was it? I thought it was a diaper commercial or something like that. I'm going, oh my. It was just all these different families saying they're making changes, they're doing something new, And
what about this Hillary bus, Scooby-Doo van?
Oh God,
I mean,
is
this a gimmick? Is this a gimmick? Are we really
but
relegated?
That's all, I think that's all she is gimmicks, because I don't think, I think she has to let other people do her talking for her, because she doesn't come across very well.
Well,
I think the Scooby-Doo was a gimmick just to show she's one of the folks, and her very carefully scripted coffee table meetings with,
That one.
with very ordinary Democratic, supporters, where everything was.
That was in
nothing-
Council Bluffs, and in Council
Yeah.
Bluffs, she actually parked in the handicap parking
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
It's her
Right.
entitlement that I can do what I want to
Yeah.
do, where I want to do it. But if you look at that photo where she's sitting at that coffee table, the mayor and his wife are sitting at the next table. It was all staged.
Everything
sure.
So
she
it
does
wasn't-
is staged.
It
Nothing
wasn't
she,
any-
nothing
Well,
she does
yeah.
is natural.
You know, an interesting thing that I heard is that she is not going to be on a TV and do an actual media interview, a sit-down media interview, until well into May.
Yeah.
Now, you remember when so right now we have several Republican candidates who announced already in very impressive speeches before large crowds. Immediately they sat down and hit all the Sunday talk shows. They
Right.
hit all the media outlets and they gave interviews. They were torn apart in many ways. They started, what was the last one I heard? Something about Rand Paul's sunglasses. I don't know if they're trying to say the sunglasses are a sales pitch. I'm not really sure. Marketing thing. I don't know what that's all about. But right away they're starting to talk about the negative side effects of what the Republican candidates did, but at least they faced the press. She, again, is not facing the press until mid-May. And I think that's kind of an interesting thing when you think about this listening tour.
She doesn't have a primary, though, at this moment.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no one else that's really stepped up. So some of the strategy is let the other guys fight it out, and I'll
Yeah.
come along at the end, which is not a winning strategy. And I think that our Massachusetts Senate is doing something similar in that they're having little hearings across the state. They had 8 different hearings to hear from the people, to see what their opinions and their stories are so that they can make better decisions. And I think she's trying to follow that motto that I'm just going around listening to hear. Well, if you're just starting to listen now, you're really behind the
Right,
game.
she should have been
Yeah.
listening for the last year and a half and
That's
leading
right.
up to it. So
Yeah,
when
that's
she
right.
finally ultimately announced, she should have been ready to jump off.
Exactly.
I am here, this is what I'm starting to stand
Right.
for, and rolling
This
out.
is what you've already told me, not what you're going to tell me. I'm not listening now. You know, she
Right.
should have been listening
Right,
for years.
the listening part is what leads you to the platform
Right.
that you ultimately come out with. There was a very interesting, it's granted it's unscientific, but there was a poll in the Sentinel a couple of weeks ago, and they said, what is Hillary Clinton's biggest obstacle to becoming pregnant? I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry. My cousin
Isn't this
Barbara.
awful? Talk about the women's panel, and I'm fixated. All right, let's start this again. To become the biggest obstacle to becoming president, the options were the email scandal, lack of transparency, 16%. Benghazi, 25%. The lack of achievement, 23%. Clinton fatigue, 27%.
Biggest.
Foreign campaign donations, 1%, and her age, 8%. And Hillary Clinton is, just for our edification, is 68 years old. She will be 69 if and when she becomes pregnant.
President, yes. American Rising has a video out. It's called The Real Accomplishments of Hillary Clinton. It was put out on the 27th of November in 2014. And the real accomplishments are very, you should watch the video, but there really aren't any real accomplishments. I think one of the things that you mentioned that's very interesting is that the Clinton fatigue is the greatest percentage. 27% of the people polled said they're just tired of Clintons, you know?
Yes.
And I think that that also carries over with Jeb Bush, the kind, you know, we've had a Bush dynasty already, so they didn't want more of that, even though there were some good things that happened in those terms. But Benghazi being 25%.
I'm surprised that's as high as it is, because
Benghazi's
I
huge.
thought, I know, but your average person
doesn't
really
follow those things.
follow Benghazi.
Unless they're military families,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of veterans and a lot of things coming up, and especially with Memorial Day coming up, there's going to be more of it, I think, brought out.
Well, do you think a lot of this, you know, we now see ISIS, we see the videos, we see what's happening in the Middle East. We also realize that it could be coming to America. It could be coming to our own
Absolutely.
soil, because every week in the news we're hearing more and more young American teenagers
There's
or young
teenagers from
20 people
Minnesota.
are fleeing to try to go to Syria, are trying to
Amazing.
join ISIS, and you just wonder why. I mean, is all this keeping this whole Middle East and Benghazi issue in the news? Do you think some of that will resonate as being not just a separate issue, Benghazi, but part and parcel of the whole war on terror, this whole Middle East that's now a mess, where she was Secretary of State and had little to no achievements. Even her own, if you remember back maybe a year ago when some of the spokespeople were asked what were the achievements,
Yeah, they
I think
couldn't.
it was Jen Psaki or one of those had to step back and say, I'll get back to you on that. They couldn't even come up with an achievement for their own State Department, their own boss. Which I think is interesting. This new book that we really won't get into, Clinton Cash by Peter Schweitzer. I think the sort of percentage here on foreign campaign donations, 1%. Do you think that's going to go up in light of this new book and some of the revelations that are coming out on Hillary and Bill with this?
I suppose it's going to depend on whether or not the Democrats or the Republicans are the ones buying it. I mean, Republicans already aren't going to vote for her. You're looking to sway the Democrats, and if the Democrats go, it's always a bash book on the Clintons. They're just going to go like this.
Okay, so you think they're going to be able to come out from under it, elevate themselves out from under the scandal?
The people who love him aren't going to read it.
Sure.
Yeah, it depends on the media too, whether or not the media picks up on what's in the book and reports on it. You know, if the media bows to her like they did to the
There's
last
a lot
one.
more of the financial things that are coming out, though, because the International Business Times, as of December of 2008, since then, $500,000 to over $1 million were already given to the Clinton Foundation, the Clinton Family Foundation. Cisco, which that's all the news too, has already given $140,000 directly to Hillary's campaign. And so this is because she went and helped them get out from under in China and the persecution that was going on, if we use that word, during the different things. And so in order to bring them back, because they actually went into the board meeting and had the board members and invaded that board meeting and had them decide to protect the people instead. And so in order for her to bring them out of trouble and whitewash the whole situation, she went and did some deals with them, being Secretary of State and with Cisco and stuff, donating $140,000 to her campaign. There's a lot of deals that are not recorded in that 1% donation. I think it's a lot higher than that amount.
Well, and I think that, you know, when we looked at this kind of email scandal initially, a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago, when we first started hearing about her private servers and destroying the emails and things, immediately I started thinking, oh, it was all about Benghazi. That's what she was hiding. Now, in light of this new book that's coming out, Clinton Cash, I think we're going to find out just this, that between both Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, we had a big pay to play. Money was coming out because she was Secretary of State, and money was coming into the Clinton Foundation. Despite that, though, women tend to still like Hillary Clinton. Now, I don't think we're going to get that agreement around this table. But I was at my hairdresser a couple of weeks ago. The news was on, and Hillary Clinton's campaign was on the news. And right away, the women in the hairdressing salon talked about, you go girl. It was this like sort of sisterhood thing happening. Does anybody understand it? Do we understand this, you go girl, with Mrs. Clinton? Is that a sense that is that something that we feel she is going to be our hope for bringing us up as women, elevating the country?
If she was a woman who met my ideals, met my qualifications, yeah, I'd be going, you go girl. But she doesn't.
Yeah.
Do you see her as strong?
She is strong as far as she has the political experience. She has a political background. Her family was in politics for a long time, her family history. She knows how to behave herself in public ways. She knows who to shake hands with and who not to, whom to bow, who you don't bow with. She knows political protocol. And because she knows this, she is a strong woman and politically one to be dealt with because she has those secret deals. When Clinton was president, there was a book that had come out from the Chinese Year of the Rat. And he was making deals with China at the time, which gave away our military bases in California and other places, but that one I know specifically. And so they've had deals for many years. The Clinton family, she also, so with this Cisco in China, this is still all tied in together, and these things are just coming out now, but this was 10 more years ago that all this was going down. This is, 20 years ago, some of this. And her strength, she is powerful politically.
And
she
she's
has
and
connections.
And she's ruthless.
And she will go after those women
Yeah.
that play with her husband
we
and
all
come
saw,
out publicly.
we all saw that. We
Yeah.
saw that is that the women
Yeah.
who were involved with her husband, President Clinton, both before the White House, in the White House, that she went after them.
Correct.
She didn't go after her own husband, although we heard that there might have been an ashtray thrown or
Lamp
something like
thrown.
that. But she went after the women also publicly. Do you think, Hillary, that Bill will actually be someone who will be in a position to support her campaign going forward? Do you think she will use the 1990s, which by all accounts, if you look at some people or talk to some people, people feel that the 1990s were a successful time period. People made money, people got raises. We also know that there were economic booms and bubbles happening, but people look at the 90s by and large with rose-colored glasses and say they were good Clinton years. Do you think she's going to run on that and use her husband Bill's 8 years to bolster up her campaign? In other words, she's got to come out from under Obama, who has not had a successful run. So she can't run on more of the same.
She is coming out already saying that her policies are better than the Obama policies. And that's kind of funny since they're supposed to be on the same team anyway.
And that could backfire on her if he thinks that she is throwing him under the bus.
And there is a work because it is his office, the Obama administration, who is actually letting out a lot of this dirt on Hillary because there is this internal war that's been going on because she didn't, she was supposed to get the seat that he took. And so it's still going on. And there's going to be some issues there. I think she's going to try to use it, but those who are politically in the know, I think people have had enough.
Do you think 1990 is really a long time ago now for many of us? And 1990 was a long time ago. Do you think people even remember the 1990s?
No, but they like Bill Clinton. And if she needs Bill, she'll use Bill.
That's right.
If she thinks she can do it on her own and leave him in the background,
Use it when you
she
need 'em.
will. But if she finds that she needs his popularity, she will drag him out
There
to
you
that
go.
stage.
Sure, and
There
he
you
will
go.
give a speech
Yep.
and bite
Yeah.
his lower lip.
Yep.
And
Right.
things like that. What
Yeah.
about the war on women? Where do you think this will play in her campaign, in her campaign going forward? Do you think we're going to start hearing this again about the Republicans don't like women, they want to keep women down, health care, abortion rights, birth control?
If women want to get out of being in that mindset of, oh, the men are against us, don't think they're against you and just work harder than them because you're playing into it. If you want to be better, be better. Don't try and say, oh, I'm a woman and you're beating me up.
You think that the war on women actually allowed women a crutch to stay
Oh,
behind?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What do you think?
I think that the fear factor is going to be used more near the end as a last minute to throw it all in there, try to get the vote out. Because right now, women make up 40% of the 3 million Americans that make over $500,000. So when women, people that make over $500,000, 40% of that is already women that are doing it. There's not this huge pay grade differential like there, people suppose that there was. Not anymore.
But that
there isn't.
statistic never comes out.
Yeah,
the
but
statistic
those
we
aren't-
keep hearing is this
Yeah,
78%
those aren't the women. Those
one.
aren't the women that the Democrats tell you about.
Yeah,
They tell you
correct.
about, the ones making, what is it,
78 cents of a dollar.
They're saying women are lagging
dollar.
behind, but that's not the truth.
Yeah.
It's not
Those are not the facts.
Well,
And
are they checking to make sure that that woman's been at the same job for the same
No,
amount of
but
time
that's
as this other
irrelevant.
person?
Education.
Right.
That's
and-
not irrelevant because
Well, it's
starting
irrelevant to them
Right.
because it doesn't
Yeah,
fit
no,
into their.
right, because Christine's right. It's what we're saying is that, statistics don't lie, but statisticians
Yeah,
do.
do.
There you go.
It's how you look at. Both of you are mothers of children. You know how hard it was to maybe have a career, give up a career, raise a family. These are the things the decisions that we see women are making all the time, maybe taking a part-time job, maybe stepping out of the working world, maybe taking a job at a fast food place just when your husband gets home or something like this. Those are opportunities that sometimes women have that a man may not have because he has to step up and take the household. So, it's how we like to play with the statistics. The mainstream media really did get Barack Obama elected, not just once, but twice. The mainstream media stood in back of him, didn't challenge him, didn't hold his feet to the fire like they did the Republican counterparts. Do you think they will stand behind Mrs. Clinton this time? Or do you think they, with all of these scandals, with everything that's coming up, and this Clinton cash is now hitting the mainstream media. It is getting a lot of publicity, New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal. Do you think the mainstream media is going to start sawing off that limb? I think letting her.
The media has had such a bad rap for so long that they are so far left and they won't be fair. I think they're going to try to project themselves as fair this time. And I think that in this next presidential election that they're going to try to be fair by reporting all of them, because I think most of them will see the handwriting on the wall that it's not going to be, we haven't had a Democrat replace a Democrat as a president. And I think because of how far the ship has lurched, they're going to try to bring back some balance by trying to be fair. But the problem that Hillary's going to have is the Clinton Foundation is accepting all kinds of funds from countries that treat women as second-class, third-class citizens, as a lower life form. And so with her getting that kind of support, she can't say, I'm here for women, when you're accepting that kind of funding from people who are suppressing and beating women.
Well, didn't she just the other day, didn't they just come out and said the Clinton Foundation will only accept funds from, I think it was England, Australia, and France, maybe. I mean, why wasn't...
does that mean they're going to give all the money back that they took from Saudi Arabia?
We won't hold our breath on that one.
They got a new way to funnel it.
One of the things that we found with Democrats, it appears, is that Democrats unite behind the candidate. They may not always like the candidate, ultimately, the final candidate, but they unite behind that candidate. The Republicans, not so much. We've seen that where a lot of Republicans stayed home because they felt that Mitt Romney wasn't conservative enough. John McCain wasn't conservative enough. So they tend to stay home. Do you think that Mrs. Clinton will get the full support of the Democratic Party and also those unenrolled or independents who just support a Democratic cause, even though she may not be as progressive as an Elizabeth Warren?
Well, they don't call it the Democratic machine for nothing. They get their candidate, they usually stick behind it. At least that's the way I've seen it. Not being in politics for very long, I mean, I could be wrong, but it just seems like there's so many more aspects and variation in the Republican Party that they just don't know what to do with themselves.
Is that because we have too many candidates, do you think, right now?
We got 3 right now?
But I think it's
like 10 more waiting. I think it's because there's so many different facets to the Republican Party. You've got Tea Party, you've got really conservative, you've got middle of the road, you've got,
the constitutionalists.
Yes, and whereas, see, to me it's the Democrats. If you've got the old-time Democrats who just kind of get pushed aside. Now you've got the progressives, and the progressives have taken over the party, and they're the ones who are calling the shots.
I think it does matter. The Democrats usually say it doesn't matter. As long as you do your own thing, nothing matters. Whereas the conservatives or the Republicans all take a stand for something. So even if we agreed that we're all going to listen to country music, there'd be a little war amongst us as to what is really country music. That's rock and roll. So and I think that's because we take such a principled stand. There's so many principled stands that's why we're going to fight even amongst ourselves, but it doesn't mean that we're not doing the right thing or moving in the right direction. And they slice and dice each other, and that happens a lot in the Republican Party because you are taking a stand. Where the Democrats say, we don't care, we just don't want that. Anything goes, we just don't want that. We'll be against something. They're not going to be for or stand for this, this, and this. They're just going to be against. So I'm going to vote D. I don't care who it is because D is the only way to go.
Who is the best from the candidates Republican candidates who've either thrown their hat in the ring or those that we know that are out there? and we do have a woman out there. We have Carly Fiorina. We do have a woman. She's not announced yet. Who do you think would be the best person to go up against Hillary Clinton?
I don't know.
I think we have several. I think we have several really strong candidates that are out there. I think that Scott Walker, Ted Cruz, I think Rand Paul, I think these are all strong men that have, Rand Paul is just emotion. You know, he runs, and the kids and the younger guys in their 20s and that, they kind of are drawn to that. Ted Cruz, he draws in a lot of conservatives. He really has that stance. Scott Walker, he's fiscal. You know, he's pulled his state around. So those that look at the numbers, so he would pull more maybe unenrolled. But if you look at these guys, I think that all of them right now have that opportunity because Hillary's faltering, and the more and more junk that comes out against her campaigns and things that she's been doing, I think that this is going to be the year to watch. But
You feel the same?
Yeah, I do. Of course, I like Marco Rubio too. I don't know if he has a chance, but I just I enjoyed listening to him speak.
Do you think him or Cruz can pull the Hispanics, get them, especially the ones that are unenrolled?
I don't know. We'll wait and see.
Yeah.
Wait, we have a long ways to go.
Well, what always happens with our show, we've already been talking 30 minutes, believe it or not. Women, what can I say? We did it again. We had a wonderful conversation on Hillary Clinton and the return of the women. We'll just have to return again at some time.
Thank you.
At some point in the future, and we'll discuss again another topic. I'd like to thank you all. Christine, thank you so much.
Sorry for being a distraction.
I know. I'm so sorry. Karen, again, thank you for coming all the way from Orange to be with us today. And
pleasure.
Kathy is always one of our routine panelists and always a great guest. Thank you all so much. And we want to thank you, our viewers, for watching Your Right to Know and sitting in with the FRCC. And as we leave you tonight, we'd like you to remember that your local city or town Republican committee is your only grassroots organization that supports and holds dear your constitutional rights and your liberty and the values that we all share and enjoy today. We in the Fitchburg Republican City Committee believe that the GOP stands for growth, opportunity, and prosperity, and we'd like you to join us. Why? Because we always stand for freedom. Thank you and good night.
America, we stand for freedom. So let us all unite to yearn and strive for our republic that reflects our values, that preserves our rights, and goes forth in power and might, that reflects our values and preserves our rights, and goes forth in power and might.